Ladies and gentlemen, thrilled to have you here for another epic debate. This is going to be a fun one, folks, as always. So I want to let you know, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, we are a neutral platform that hosts debates on science, politics, and religion. And we're very excited to let you know that no matter what walk of life you're from, we hope you feel welcome, as this should be a blast no matter who you are. We hope you enjoy it. And also want to let you know, if it's your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button, as we have many more debates to come. So for example, at the bottom right of your screen, you'll see we'll have a good old flat earth debate this coming Wednesday. That should be interesting. And then Dr. Bart Ehrman will be joining us at the end of this month on a classic Bible debate with Jonathan Sheffield. So should be a lot of fun. And it's hard to express tonight how excited I am. We've never had this topic. We've never had this pairing of debaters, and these guys are both high energy, high octane. I think this will be a lot of fun. So I want to let you know, in some way, if you have somehow not heard of our guests, if you have been living in a cave on Mars with your fingers in your ears, we have with us tonight, we want to welcome them and ask if they'd be willing to share what people can find at their links, which, by the way, folks, their links are in the description. So if you want to hear more from them, you can. First, very excited to have you back, Vosh. It's been a while, a lot of epic debates. We're thrilled to have you back. What can people expect to find at your link below? And thanks for being here.
Yeah, if you go to my link below, you'll find a lot of cringe. Pasteurized, well-aged, and delivered to you at exactly the right temperature. No, I do political commentary. The election's coming up. We're all very excited to see how that's going to turn out. And yeah, we're just having a fun old time covering it in my YouTube live streams.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for that, Vosh. And Oliver, thrilled to have you back after you had that slobber knocker with T-Jump last time. A really fun debate. People really enjoyed that. A lot of positive feedback. So we're thrilled to have you back again. And with that, what can people expect to find at your link, Oliver?
Oh, yeah, most of the information is in German. But I just have to tell you that I'm banned from YouTube currently because I said forbidden things about the coronavirus. So I'm happy that I can speak to anyone now, because I'm banned for 2 weeks, and the next strike will delete my channel for in eternity.
Very juicy.
I'm happy to speak to anyone.
Absolutely. Well, this should be interesting. Boys will be boys, as they say. All right, so very excited. We will kick it into the opening statement. So, Bosch, the floor is all yours for your roughly 10-minute opening statement. And I want to let you know, folks, by the way, if you have a question, feel free to fire it into the old live chat. And if you tag me with that Modern Day Debate, it makes it easier for me to get those questions. Super chat's also an option, in which case I'll push your question to the top of the list. And also, if you want, you can make a comment during the question and answer through that as well. So thanks so much. Vosh, the floor is all yours.
Yeah. So with regards to climate change, the discussion usually centers around three basic issues. The first of which is climate change happening? The second of which is, how bad will it be? And the third of which is it our fault / what can we do to stop it? The first question is exceedingly easy to answer. Whether we look at rising sea levels, the declining glaciers in the north and the south, the rising global temperatures, the increase in forest fires, or the general concentration of greenhouse gases in the air, it's undeniable that these physical changes are taking place. That's a vast plurality of evidence. I don't think anything even comes close to contradicting it. Now, the more important question, though, is how bad is it going to get? And this is where we must wander into the realm of speculation. There is no way to definitively know what will happen, but we can take educated guesses based on current trends. For example, the increasing rates of forest fires, which have devastated where I live, the Pacific Northwest, California, where I used to live, Australia, where I once vacationed, and plenty other places around the globe, have become increasingly severe and extra seasonal outside their regularly scheduled forest fires in ways that have done incredible damage to their respective environments. This, of course, not only chokes the air of the people who live in those areas, it also denies us vast swaths of material resources that we can use for pharmaceutical or farming purposes. It also makes the world a lot less pretty, frankly. With the rising sea levels, this isn't even disputed. It seems pretty clear that as they continue to rise, communities which have settled near the ocean, near sea level, are going to become increasingly at risk. In fact, it's projected at this time that within 100 years, over 1/2 of 1 billion currently settled humans are going to be living in areas that will soon be underwater. Some of these communities will be able to build dams and dikes and levees, but many of them will not. Many of them are quite impoverished and poor, meaning hundreds of millions of people will have no choice but to pack up and move further inland, causing a refugee crisis unlike anything the human race has ever experienced in the past. These are just some of the innumerable potential consequences of allowing climate change to continue unabated. Which brings us to the third and final question, 2 parts, I suppose. Is this being caused by humans? And what can we do about it? I would suggest that even if this was not in any way being caused by humans, it would not change the fact that we must do something about it because we face an existential threat. I would argue, in fact, that it is irrelevant whether it is being caused by humans, because we have a shared interest in the longevity of this planet, even if this is just some incredible quirk of our natural environment. Unfortunately, though, we cannot absolve ourselves of that responsibility because the increasing temperatures have been pretty directly attributed to the increase in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Essentially, they work by trapping the energy of the sun inside of our atmosphere. As the rays leave the sun, they enter our increasingly thick atmosphere from its outer rim, and as they bounce off the planet, off clouds, the ocean, the sand, the sun, rather than being reflected back into space at the traditional rate and proportion, they are instead kept here by greenhouse gases with their molecular structure, which traps energy. These greenhouse gases are produced by us. They are also produced naturally, but we have broken the equilibrium with our extensive industrialization. We spew carbon dioxide and other forms of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere at an extraordinary rate. And I think this has nothing to do with the planet, nothing to do with ecological preservation, and everything to do with the preservation of the human species. We must prevent climate change. We must claim and lay claim to the land, which may yet be taken by rising sea levels. We must restore the ice at the poles. We must make the world habitable for our children and future children and such, because if we don't, they are going to be very cross at us. And in all likelihood, they will not be paying for our retirement homes, and we will have no choice but to wander the streets, an old and dejected generation of boomers, upset that we have been left out in the 118-degree sweltering winter heat by our angry grandchildren. And that is my case.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Vosh. We'll kick it over to Oliver for his opening statement as well. Oliver, the floor is all yours.
I want to repeat what I did last time, that I majored in empirical science, and my thesis deals with correlations, which is very important when we come to debating if there's man-made climate change. I don't dispute that the climate is changing. It's changing for thousands of years. But my points are, for a scientific theory, a falsifiable experiment must exist. Otherwise, the theory is at least worthless. In the case of the greenhouse effect, even clearly wrong. There is no such experiment, they admit it, but there are numerous empirical measurements that refute the theory. Second, there is no correlation between temperature and carbon dioxide. Correlation does not necessarily mean causality, but causality requires correlation, and there is none. Climate models, they admit, are non-linear chaotic. Non-linear chaotic means that there is no fixed correlation between one factor and the other. So it could even be that increasing CO2 could also lead to decreasing temperatures due to the non-linear chaotic nature of the models. And they even say that they only come to their conclusion because of their computer models. Numerous proven physical laws clearly refute the greenhouse thesis and the greenhouse effect. There is no such thing in physics as a greenhouse effect. Even, and that to the point you made, even if humans would cause global warming, so what? 90% of the time, the Earth was warmer than now. I'm living in the Philippines, as you mentioned, and I know the figures of Thailand, which is near to the Philippines. They are 15 degrees higher, Celsius higher than Germany. Nobody is dying there. They harvest 3 times a year. So even if there would be a rise in temperature overall in the global temperature, most of the people would enjoy it. I used to live in Germany, Europe. They all go to warmer countries for vacation, not to colder countries in general. People always were fleeing from cold periods, and this was true over the course of humankind. So rather than what climate alarmists are trying to do, to play God and control nature, we should adapt to nature. So even if it would be true that there's a dangerous sea level rising with rise, which isn't, then you just adapt. You just said it's over the course of 100 years. So to move around over the course of 100 years, a little further away from the coast isn't very difficult. And by the way, if it would be true, then the houses at the beach would be less expensive, but they are more expensive because nobody believes that, even not Barack Obama, who just bought a mansion, a big villa directly at the beach. And the argument, which is often mentioned, but I will not touch too much on that, it's the CO2 in the atmosphere is only 0.04% and 3% are man-made. So even if you stop all man-made carbon emissions, it would not change anything substantially. That's it.
You got it. Thanks so much. We're going to kick it into open discussion mode. And so with that, the floor is all yours, gentlemen.
Sure. I'd like to respond to those if I may. So with the greatest of respect, these points are idiotic and all over the place. First of all, if your contention is that climate change is happening, but is not affected by the processes which I described it, I have no idea why you would take the time to lay out hits with me like beach houses are expensive. Climate change generally operates on a time scale that is does not affect the purchasing decisions of realtors. Usually people purchase beach houses for limited lengths of times. The fact that millionaires want good beachfront property, usually, by the way, on hills several feet or several dozens of feet.
That was not an argument, it was a joke.
Oh, okay. My apologies then. Then equally funny was your claim that migrating 500 million human beings over the course of a century would be easy. I'm not even going to get into the logistics of that, especially considering how poor some of those nations are. But these other arguments, the Philippines are hotter than Germany and people in the Philippines like it, so it wouldn't be that bad in Germany either, this is ridiculous. But this underlies a fundamental untruth that you seem to be pushing here. First of all, the idea that there is a lack of experimental validity to the claims of climate science, which is ridiculous. Geological science isn't based on experiments. You have to base it on correlational data because usually geology relies on an understanding of timescales that are completely inapplicable in an experimental setting. You can't experiment the layers of ice beneath the Arctic and how they correlate to temperatures projected thousands of years ago. You can't experiment the magma forming under layers of rock sedentary millions of years in the past. This has to be done inductively, deductively, reasoning through our awareness of these events as they take place now. With regards...
Can I interrupt here? Because if we go too much arguments at once, then we lose the audience. So I know this argument. It's like saying if you watch an accident, and then it's very hard to replicate the exact what was exactly happening at the accident. But the laws of physics of Newton apply to the accident. So they don't even have one law of physics which explains the greenhouse effect. And if you don't have even one law of physics to explain it, then the theory is worthless.
What? What do you mean by law of physics? Wait, here, I have a paper for you right now. Carbon dioxide absorbs and re-emits infrared radiation. This can be tested experimentally. This isn't just correlational. We know for a fact that these molecular structures trap infrared radiation. I can provide it to you if you would like it. You can shake your head, but that's a fact. First of all, you don't test the validity of experiments by laws of physics. Laws of physics are numerous and relate to varying degrees to any given experiment, this is easily provable that CO2 correlates to the trapping of... No?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
So,
do you want me to read this article to you?
I can give you 1,000 studies which dispute the claim.
I would like them then. I don't appreciate it when people lie to their audiences. And what you're doing right now is you're lying.
No, I'm not lying.
Do you want me to read this article to you?
No, I'm not lying. You can go to the paper of Professor Gerlich and Dr. Teuchner, who recently passed. You can go to the work of Professor Gerhard Kram, who dispute that. But let me just explain. We were at place of the correlation. So if you examine any subject, you need a correlation, but at least you need a correlation between CO2 and temperature. There is none.
Yes, there is. Would you like me to provide it to you? I'll provide it to you in the chat here.
Yeah, we will come to that.
There you go.
So you can win $10,000 if you show me the correlation.
I have just done so.
Yeah. So I was told you were studying sociology or something. So you have some something about statistics.
Yes.
So for example, if you have a classroom of 30 people, and you want to measure if there is half man and half woman, then it's not so likely that in a classroom of 30 people, exactly 50% are men and 50% are women. So if you want to show that it's true that half of the people are women and men, you need at least in statistics 30 data sets, meaning 30 classrooms. So they claim that climate is the temperature over a course of 30 years. So you need at least 30 data sets to show a correlation, meaning 900 years. There is no 900 time period in the history of mankind.
You're completely making this up.
Let me finish with a positive correlation between CO2 and temperature.
So, first of all, I don't know what relationship there is between the projected ratio of men to women and whether or not you would believe any individual human being would be man, half woman. This would be a misappropriation of statistical knowledge. When it comes to understanding data sets...
No, it was only to explain to you how many data sets you need.
When it comes down to that, yes, you're just frankly incorrect. Any study we have at any given point about the climate of the planet is drawn from literally tens of thousands of different data points correlating global temperature, global sea levels, what have you. The idea that this is being done in some sort of haphazard or statistically invalid way is a complete farce. It's farcical. It's a joke.
You can just look at the graphics.
I'm currently looking at the collected data on this. You've claimed you have data which is a defeater to my point. I guarantee you will not be able to find a peer-reviewed article suggesting CO2 molecules do not trap radiation. I guarantee you will not be able to find a peer-reviewed article suggesting there is no correlation between CO2 and temperature. Easily. That is the easiest bet that I would ever make in my life.
I just referenced you. It's Professor Gerhard Kram and it's Professor Gerlich and Dr. Teuchner. But let's go to the data. So I can share.
No, I would love to see these articles. If assuming they're in English, of course. If they're in German,
no, they're in English. In English. So it's all on my website. So it's one website. Of course, some of it is in German, but there's always, not always, but there are many English articles I refer to. It's all on my website. I will give it to you later.
Of course.
But no.
Yeah, just the data on this is extraordinarily clear.
Because I'm taking the IPCC data. So, can you see it?
Yes.
So, that's the temperature for the last 1,000 years, and that's the IPCC data, the red line, and that's the CO2. Also IPCC.
This does not match up with any data I have ever seen on this time scale. Not even close.
Yeah, but that's the IPCC data from Michael Mann. It's what the climate alarmists just do. They show the last part of it, and both is rising, and it depends on how you do the scaling. But this is there you clearly see that sometimes the temperature goes down.
Yeah, I would need to see this. The idea that the global temperature was higher 600 years ago than it is today. Wait a second, hold on. Why does the red line for temperature stop around 1930?
1930, what?
The red line right there, the one which determines global temperature,
no,
stops.
That's not 1930. It's at the end of I don't know, 1990 or something. But that's not the point.
It says right. It's so if each of the dividers there is 100 years, it stops a little bit before the midway between 1900 and 2000.
No, I think it goes. This is the Michael Mann temperature curve. You know, the famous guy who lost the court ruling against I don't know, remember the other guy. So that's the non-disputed. It's corrected by McIntyre, but the correction is only at the end here. What I want to show is that from the 1400s on, you see that there's no correlation whatsoever between CO2 and the temperature.
Don't you think it's wait. Yeah, but you can see right at the end the CO2 level spikes up, but your temperature graph doesn't include the past 80 years. So
no, it's not 80 years. It's
you can see the black line right there. The CO2 line stays very still until human industrialization develops, and then it starts to scale up.
Yeah,
but your temperature stops before.
It's because it's an old graphic, but it's the data from 2003.
Wait,
but
is it 60?
I want to draw your attention to this one because everybody can see that there's no correlation, and now you can win $10,000. You can dispute this graph, and you can bet $10,000 that I bet $10,000 that there's no correlation, no positive.
Sure. Here's an article. IPCC researchers admit global warming fraud from the New American. So this data right here, it looks like this comes from conspiracy sites. What you're showing to me. Wait. What you're showing to me doesn't disprove my argument. There's clearly an increase in CO2 towards the end of the 20th century, but the temperature graph stops.
I told you that there's no correlation in the past, so there can be no correlation.
But what if it's possible that temperature fluctuates within about a half degree of the current CO2 level, and if the CO2 level is currently rising, that also means the temperature would fluctuate along a greater range higher?
No, if you don't have a correlation in the past, you don't have.
Wait, that's not. Wait. So you said you claimed to understand there was a relationship between sociology and statistics. You are demonstrating a grievous misunderstanding of statistical analysis right here. So it is entirely possible that the CO2 level in the atmosphere is more generally stable than recorded temperature levels, but without seeing a broader time scale or seeing the way in which the temperature has responded to the recent increase in CO2, we don't know.
Then we go a few million years, and I will show you the graphic here. So we don't have any correlation over millions of years.
But
that's the temperature for the last 600 million years. And what you can see is, I give you a more actual one. That's 10 years old, but I have another one. So what you see that most of the time it was the CO2 levels were much higher than now. And the temperature was sometimes much higher, sometimes much lower. And maybe I get to the actual data right now.
Don't you think it's interesting that previously you were very uncomfortable using long-term temperature data because there weren't enough data sets to draw from, but now you're using ones that extend hundreds of millions of years in the past? This would be irrelevant to our point.
It's better to have a longer time scale. The problem with that is that it's a reconstruction, but it's not disputed by anyone.
What does this indicate?
That we had much higher temperatures and much lower temperatures, regardless.
Humans weren't around back then.
Exactly. They weren't around at that time.
Yeah, and the The CO2 levels have been decreasing because the Earth has been made habitable for humans.
What?
We're talking about a time scale of hundreds of millions of years. The atmospheric composition of our planet has changed. Humans weren't capable of surviving in the atmosphere before. You're saying like, oh, it's okay, the CO2 used to be much higher. We would be dead if we lived back then. Now we live at a lower time period. It going up is bad.
And most of the time there were more plants and more nature and
not
more
humans,
animals.
not us.
And That's not an argument.
So wait, no, it is. You're citing that climate change isn't a big deal because plants could live 700 million years ago.
Yeah,
I couldn't.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the correlation of CO2 and temperature, and there is none. And you can
wait, hold on. So I'm going to screen share because I don't know where you're getting these wacky data sources. If I may, hold on.
Yeah, I'll give you the actual data.
Yes, the actual data. Hold on. Stop your screen share, and we're going straight over to this one. Can you see this?
No. No.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are. Yeah. That's the hockey stick curve. As I told you, no, I didn't tell you. We are still recovering from an ice age. I think the minimum was at 1870. So it's no wonder that the temperature goes up. This is a typical example
not this sharply, not over the course of 100 years.
Yeah, but that's a typical example of cherry picking the data. You never had a correlation between CO2 and temperature in the past, and even the data, the temperature data is disputed. There were 49 scientists of NASA who wrote to NASA, to the chiefs there, that they are tampering with the data. So
I can't speak to conspiracy here. Wait. So you're making a bunch of claims all at once, which sometimes support and sometimes do not support each other. So you acknowledge climate change is happening, but you seem intent on arguing that it's not actually happening. What we're looking at right here is not. Wait. What we're looking at right here is not.
Stop! Don't
No. Yeah, go for it.
An argument. I have two different arguments, and you let me speak and don't interrupt at an important point. There are two arguments. The one argument is we had no correlation in the past. That's another argument.
We do.
Now you're showing me a certain curve, and then I'm talking about they are tampering with the temperature data.
Here's from NOAA.
These are two different arguments.
Remember NOAA? You were familiar with them before. Here is the global CO2 level and our global temperature scaled back over the course of about 1 million years. I don't know. I can't p-hat this right off the top of my head. This correlation would be pretty near 1. This is an extraordinarily strong correlation. I don't know where you got your offhanded graphs for this.
Which one? Show me. What is 1? What is 1?
Can you see the graph that I'm looking at with the two blue lines?
No.
The screen share. Oh, my screen sharing is paused. I see. Here, hold on. Let me fix that. What a wacky program. There we go. Now you should be able to see it.
No. No, yeah.
Yes. The association between CO2 levels and temperature is pretty strong. Now, I imagine there's more year-to-year intervariable fluctuation with temperature because of solar cycles, but CO2 and temperature tend to follow each other pretty strongly. The Earth used to be much hotter. The Earth's atmosphere also used to have way more CO2. Now, we see a spike in our temperature and a spike in CO2. There is clearly an association between these variables.
First of all, that's the ice core data, and they don't measure directly. There's a theory about that, and the theory.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, and the theory is that there's a theory how this how they are measured. It's not a direct measurement, but there's a theory behind it. How does the CO2 come into the ice core and into the ice cores? And the theory says that CO2 of today is entrapped in ice cores from 2,000 years ago. So it may well not reflect what really happened.
Why would modern CO2 be trapped?
But if your problem is that that first the temperature rises at 800 years on average. First, the temperature rises at 800 years on average. Later, the CO2 levels rise. So if you want to use this data, and I wouldn't use it, then it only may explain that rising temperature induces rising CO2 levels. So it's exactly the other way around.
Why would rising temperature induce rising CO2 levels?
There are a lot of explanations, but I don't buy into that explanations because I dispute that data.
Also, there's no evidence here that there's an 800-year gap.
Let me finish. But you are using this data, and the data clearly shows that first comes the temperature, and then becomes the CO2.
No, that is not shown at all by this data. I don't know if you're just like eyeballing it, but there's a pretty strong correlation here that doesn't indicate a
lag is
disposition.
800
Wait,
years.
I like how you're saying it's an 800-year difference when the time scale shown here is 800,000. Your eyes are not good enough to detect a slant from one side.
$1,000. We bet $1,000 now that first the temperature rises.
You still owe me $10,000 from the first thing you bet me on.
No.
No, listen.
You didn't show me a 900-year time period with a significantly positive correlation between CO2 and temperature. You didn't show me that.
Wait. I don't need to show you that. CO2 levels don't vary that much. It would be very difficult to indicate that over such a short period of time. CO2 levels aren't supposed to change in our atmosphere at the speed we're causing them to.
They are supposed to change the whole climate, and you say, "Oh, it's not fluctuating."
Not over the course of 100 years.
If it's not fluctuating, how can it change the temperature if the temperature fluctuates much more? That's insane.
The CO2 variance can take a very long time to take effect. The temperature variance can fluctuate within a given range of the CO2.
There's no correlation.
What? I just showed you correlation. I can't. Wait. I can't. Wait. No, I can't show you evidence, and you just say no to it. Can I ask you? Wait. Hold on.
I just put $1,000 on the table. And,
on what?
That there's a time lag of 800 years between temperature and CO2.
What of it? From where are you getting this evidence? And if that is the case, what does that mean?
You can calculate it. I show you the sources.
Even if that was the case, and again, I don't know. You're just talking about like calculations. You have nothing on hand. Even if that was the case, I don't know how that would disprove the point at all. There's a very strong correlation between CO2. Wait. There is a very strong correlation between CO2 levels and temperature. Currently, our CO2 level is rising. Our temperature is also rising. This seems very simple to me. Like, what I'm curious about is why you have delved so deep. What I'm curious about is why you have delved so deep into anti-intellectualism to try to argue against such an easy point. What would you prefer we do?
It's very easy to understand for everybody with half a brain cell.
Well, wait. Then why do 97
rises and then the CO2? Then
97% of scientists agree with my narrative? If we want to defer to public opinion, I think you should probably shut your mouth because it would not support you.
No, that's another argument.
I know you have prepared arguments for all of these because conspiracists always do. But I ask you, what exactly? I know. Wait. I've seen. Wait. I've taken
name calling after 20 minutes because I disproved your point.
You haven't disproved anything, my friend. But I'm sure it must be comforting to believe you have. I've taken a look at your content. I've taken a look at your content before speaking to you. I know you're like a conspiracy QAnon type. So I'm less interested in listening to you cope about your lack of evidence and more interested in your mind state. Why do you care about lying about this so much? Why do you care so much about Greta Thunberg? What are you trying to prevent? What are you trying to do? What's your goal? Like, what? I want to know about you.
Yeah. Thank you for asking me something. And shut up during I'm giving the answer. How many books have you written about the subjects which were praised by leading scientists? How
about
many?
Subjects which were praised? Well, anyone can write a book on a subject that was praised, right?
Yeah, but it was praised by professors. How many books did you write?
Are you actually deferring to the worst version of the appeal to authority? Like you've written more books than me?
No, because you just did. You said I'm an idiot or some conspiracy.
How many 10K live streams have you done? Whoa, hold on.
No, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm an investigative journalist, and I'm arguing, and I just disproved.
I've seen your website. It looks like Time Cube, my dude. Listen, how many 10K live streams have you done on climate change? I've done one. How many have you done? See, clearly you defer now to my expertise.
I'm writing since 10 years about the subject. Okay.
I want to know about you. Imagine you and I are on a date. Are you into gay shit?
What?
With men. Is it okay if we date? I want to know about you. Imagine I'm looking across from the table at you, okay? Why are you so obsessed with this climate shit? Like, what about it?
I'm obsessed with lies and idiots who can't read.
What lies?
I just disproved your point.
Why? Who's lying?
You are lying.
Okay, but me and 97%.
That first the temperature rises and 800 years later the CO2
I don't
rises.
deny that. I question its relevance. But with the 97% of scientists who agree with me, are they lying too?
There is no consensus. Okay, we go to the to the consensus argument, of course, there is no consensus.
There absolutely is.
It's all on one. It's all on one. Maybe I give it for your viewers. I give the website. There's all the evidence you need. Always to peer-reviewed papers.
So it absolutely is the consensus amongst climate scientists that climate change is happening, it's severe, and humans are causing it. Wait, do you think they're lying, or do you think they're all just dumb?
No, there's no consensus. But
Wait, are they lying? I'm curious. You said I lied. Are they lying?
How can I give you my website, because it's all in one article? How can I?
But it's yes, no. Like, do you think they're lying, or do you think they're just dumb?
I'm just trying to put out for the viewers the information.
Okay, James, put it out, but then you have to tell me if they're lying or if they're dumb.
Yes,
okay,
I will.
Okay, after, yeah.
So where can I do it? A chat here.
Yeah, there's a chat feature in the Zoom. I can provide.
So there you have all the data you need. So first of all, science is not about consensus. We had that discussion in the last debate, but there even is no consensus. The 97% figure, and you see it on my website, it was examined, and only 0.3% of all scientists attributed their global warming from the 1950s to now to CO2 emissions. So that was what was really in the papers.
Wait. So are you contending
at this meta studies, they said everybody who doesn't explicitly say no, there is no man-made climate change is on our side. So that's what they did.
Here's an article published in November.
There are numerous other studies. There are numerous other studies. Here are the sources that done by independent.
I'm not going to your website for sources. Whoa, my dude! Wait! Hold on, one point.
No, let me finish.
So wait. Here's an article. Scientists reach 100% consensus on anthropogenic.
Who disputed 1,000? Okay, I give you two another websites. No Trickstone and what's up with that? There are more than 1,000 papers disputing the arguments of the climate alarmists.
No, that's not how science works. How long are you going to go on?
And there are 100 papers who say the sun is responsible for that. 100 peer-reviewed papers.
Wait, of course the sun is responsible for it. That's where all energy in the solar system comes from. The sun, the nuclear fusion at the core is the source of all. Wait, but that doesn't mean climate change isn't happening. First of all, the 1,000 peer-reviewed. Right. So first, the 1,000. My God, man. The 1,000 peer-reviewed papers you're referring to, which question the climate narrative, I guarantee you, are merely scientific disagreements amongst people who fundamentally agree on my narrative, but are sussing out the details. This study right here, scientists reach 100% consensus on anthropogenic global warming based on a review of 11,602 peer-reviewed articles on climate change and global warming.
Now it's 100%.
So here you go. I want you. Wait. I pose you a challenge, okay? Find me an article. A contrapositive suggesting that the vast majority of climate scientists agree with you, a peer-reviewed article on a journal, or shut the fuck up. You can do one of those two things.
No, I'm not claiming that. I'm claiming that there is a whole variety of people saying different things, and there was one study, for example.
These are weasel words. Everyone says different things, but they agree with me. They agree with me. You're so weaselly. Just accept it. Everyone disagrees with you.
Let's hear the. We'll come right back to you, Vash. I promise.
So, it's on my website. There's a meta study, and there were and it was about 1/3 agreed that men have influence. About 1/3 said they are neutral, and about 1/3 opposed it. So we can throw data around like you want. There is no real consensus, and in science, even there is only
absolutely
one.
Is yes.
Even if there's only one who disputes it, and he's in the right, then
that's not how that works. So again, I would point to the audience, of course, if you have to go to his website to find evidence in his favor, and I can just cite journals that are posted publicly and peer-reviewed, I would. I would suggest to you, of course.
I link to peer-reviewed papers.
Yes, but your arguments there are weaselly. You say scientists disagree, or some scientists say the sun is involved. What I say is, and if you have any contrapositive, again, please, man, because I'm getting tired of this specific subject. You are in disagreement with the scientists. The science, you are in conspiracy. Now, I want to ask you, Wait.
I look at the data.
Oh my God.
Hold on one second. Because it's getting fiery. I think it'd be good if we did what we did with Sargon that one time, is maybe switch back and forth.
Here,
2 minutes per
let me
person.
finish my point. Then we'll get to that. Yeah. I'll finish this point. So again, I think that it speaks to the credibility of this man that he has deluded himself into believing there is any portion of the scientific community that believes his dog shit. But what I said, I'm trying to move past this because this man could, whoa, calm down there.
Well, I promise. We'll let Vosh finish up this 2 minute interval. I promise we'll come back to you, Oliver, and we'll give you your own 2 minute interval as well.
So I don't care to argue with like the people who are like, all data is fake, all science is fake, all research is fake. Actually, everyone agrees with me, but I can't find it and you can't find it. It's very boring for me. So what I really want to know is, do you think all the people who disagree with you are liars? NASA, for example, agrees with me. World Climate Science Organizations agree with me. The United Nations agrees with me. All the scientists who work for them agree with me. Do you think they're all liars, or do you just think you're smarter than all of them? Can you answer that? Because you haven't answered that. You called me a liar earlier. It hurt my feelings. I just want to know.
You were name calling before me, but I'm not so good in English that I can insult you in a better way. So first of all, it's not me. It's over 30,000 scientists who signed the Oregon petition. There are over 1,000 papers. And if you want to have an explanation why they are lying, and they are indeed lying, it's because they get money for it. There are billions of dollars to make in that. For example, if you are the director of a climate research unit at the university, and
this
you say
30,000 scientists.
there is no man-made, let me finish. There is no man-made climate change, then you lose your job. So there's a strong incentive to lie, but most of them do not even lie, because most of the studies don't deal with the cause of it, they just deal with the effects of it. So they say, if the temperature is rising 3 degrees, then we got this problems. Many of that is fake. For example, the claim with the tornadoes. Since 25 years, the tornadoes numbers of tornadoes go back. There is no correlation between rising sea levels, because they rise 1 or 2 millimeters a year for centuries without man having anything to do.
They've raised 8 inches.
The ice polar bears are not dying. They are multiplying like rabbits. There's so much garbage out, but I don't even talk about it, because the central theme is there a cause? Do humans cause it? So we can discuss the temperature curves back and forth, but you need a proof that man has something to do with it, and it defies physics, the laws of physics, and you already admitted that there is no physical law.
You don't understand how that works.
Yeah, I understand how it works because I studied it.
Then you did a very bad job and you're owed a refund. So first of all, your comment on the 30,000 scientists support X is so dumb that it has a Snopes article dedicated to debunking it. First of all, only a portion of that. Shut up. Only a portion of those 30,000s had PhDs, the majority of which were engineers. It was a political stunt. This was not a group of climate scientists.
My promise will come right back to you, Oliver.
My friend, chill.
We've got to. I gave you roughly the 2 minutes, Oliver. I promise we'll come right back to you in about 1 minute and 40 seconds.
Yeah. So additionally, every geological and climatological organization on the planet aligns with NASA. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use hyperbole. Every reputable one, my apologies, aligns with NASA in supporting my position. Again, this is an overwhelming consensus. I can't argue with you just like ignoring evidence in front of your eyes, like factual data. Yeah, 97% or more agree with me. You tried to cite something so dumb that a Snopes article disproves it, which I think shows the general level of credibility you're operating on. One more time, because I think, and James, if he doesn't answer this again, then we can stall on this debate, because he's clearly not interested in engaging with it. Do you think everyone is lying? Or do you just think that you're smarter than them? And as a final note, your comment on these oceans rising millimeters over centuries is interesting, considering the fact that it's risen 8 inches in the past 100 years or so, which is a massive departure from the long-standing trend. So I don't know why you would cite that as though it disproves my argument. But anyway, yeah, that's the question to you. Do you think everybody is lying? And if so, is it the Jews? And otherwise, Is it because you're smarter than all of them? I need to know that. I can't, because we can't keep doing this thing where you pretend people agree with you. I'm sure it makes the lonely nights a little bit easier, but I assure you, you're out on an island, friend.
Floor is all yours, Oliver.
Won't you interrupt me again when I try to answer that? Or are you committing not interrupting me the next time? So first, to the Snopes article, you just have to go to the FAQ of the Oregon petition, and what they clearly, for example, they say there are actors. I don't know if Snopes said that, but somebody said that there are actors on the list, but it just happens that the one scientist has the name of an actor, and they claim that they are not climate scientists. Yes, most of them are not climate scientists, but science works the same in every field. So everybody who has a brain and can look at the data sees that there's no correlation, and that's their argument. If you have no correlation, then there is no cause and effect. And I try to answer again what you asked me. Most of the scientists do not deal with the matter of the cause and the effect. They just deal with the consequences of rising temperatures. So not all of them are lying, but the IPCC is a political gremium, I don't know the English word, political committee, and they are indeed lying. There are so many scientists who left the IPCC and said, I can put my data in it. For example, Svensmark, who did the study that the sun is causing this. There are so many scientists now, they say, okay, we couldn't, we were excluded from the scientific process because we did not agree. For example, Professor Gerhard Kram is an atmospheric physics, how is it called, physiker. He deals with atmospheric physics. That's his profession for 30 years or 40 years now. And he writes books about climate models, so that's his profession. And he was forced out of his institute. I think it was the Fraunhofer Institute. Now he's at Fairbanks because he disagreed.
Let you finish up that last point.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can finish up that. You're good. Okay.
Okay, so the people who are lying because there's a government conspiracy? You said they...
No, because they get money.
So they get money. Who's giving them money?
We, the taxpayer, billions.
Wait, I didn't pay anyone. How are you giving money to them?
Yeah, maybe you don't pay taxes. That might be true.
I pay quite a bit in taxes, but I paid the government. I paid the IRS.
Then you paid them.
Wait, how? Wait, you mean scientists get grants?
Almost every climate research unit gets money from the government, and the government needs.
You mean grants?
The government needs that explanation to control the people, and that's why.
Wait. Here, this is interesting to me. Wait, how are the people controlled? Wait, hold on. This is way more interesting. How are the people controlled? Let's get into the thing. Because
they have an incentive. There was one study. Maybe you can find it yourself, that 50% of all peer-reviewed papers, when they were re-examined, didn't hold up to their thesis. And there's always an incentive to prove your thesis, because you don't get money if you say there is no man-made climate change.
Yeah, that's the replication crisis.
That's called incentive. This is in psychology very, very good example.
But that happens to all fields.
If you give an incentive, then you get the results.
But why is the government incentivized?
Thousands of scientists who disagree. But if you need,
you're giving contradictory. Wait, chill. You're giving wait. We got to take your crazy shit. Wait.
Let's hold on one sec. We do a Vosh a 2-minute interval. So I know that Oliver, it was fair for you to respond because Vosh asked you a question there. But going back to that 2-minute interval, if you want to, Vosh, we'll go into that.
It'll only take me a second. Yeah. Okay. So I have to keep the crazy shit sorted. Okay. So you're saying that the government uses the grant system to incentivize scientists to promote climate change dogma. But that's not the same. If they're just using grants, they also get the grant money if they provide evidence that disproves it. In fact, if you provided evidence that disproved climate change caused by humans, you'd win the Nobel Prize. That's insane. Do you have any idea how much oil companies would like to get their hand on that data? Oil companies would pay billions if they could get verifiable evidence that climate change isn't happening. So
there is verifiable evidence. I just showed you. Just showed it.
Right. So I know maybe the oil companies just aren't as smart as you, and they haven't caught on yet. But okay, so in addition to that, what you described was called the replication process.
Think?
Whoa, my man. Hold on, okay? what you just described is called the replication crisis, which happens in all fields, pro or anti-climate science. So when it comes to legitimacy, this doesn't prove or disprove any point. It's neutral across all these fields. So you also gave contradictory information because you said the government wants to incentivize climate change research to control the people, but you also said that the process of verifying your thesis is the system by which climate change scientists are incentivized. So who's actually pulling the strings? Is it the scientists or the government? And if so, why? And is it the Jews?
It's the government, of course.
Why?
You just said that the energy industry is influencing the climate skeptics. Is this right? Did you say that? You're speaking.
Yeah. Well, I want to know from you because you've got like the answers. So like, why does the government want?
But you said no. But I assumed that you said that that there's research funded by the energy industry to contradict the narrative. Is this right?
Yeah, of course. Oil companies have been trying to push information like that for literal decades. They just fail because I'm right and you're wrong.
Okay, so you're accepting the argument that there are scientists who do research for money, right?
Yeah, of course.
And who gets more?
Wait. The people who work for the oil companies. Wait. People who operate off public. You asked me a question. People who get paid by oil companies to find contradictory research get paid way more than people who are just using government grants.
That's a provable lie. The climate alarmists get billions of dollars. I think the whole
distributed amongst how many scientists?
Gave 40 million or something.
Distributed amongst how many scientists?
If this is your argument, that you can pay scientists to tamper with the data, billions are given to climate alarmists, and maybe 40
to how many scientists?
But how many?
Yeah, to how many? Also, how much of that money goes to the experiments, and how much of it to the actual researchers?
If you're the director of
you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Why does the government want to control the population?
What?
Why does the government want to control the population? How do they do that through pushing climate change dogma?
Are you kidding me? That's what they do for.
But how do they do it through climate change dogma?
Because you have to behave like they want. The CO2 footprint and so on.
Wait. I don't know about you. I live in the United States of America. I haven't been controlled in any way, shape, or form on account of climate change-based policy. I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, but I used to live in Germany, and there we have all kinds of stuff.
Like what?
The energy prices are much higher, and they are planning to give you a CO2 footprint, how much you can use your CO2 and so on.
Why wouldn't they just charge you more? Like this seems like the most circuitous way to control the population imaginable.
You're forced to pay for solar energy. You're forced to pay for
wait, of course you have to pay for wait. Yeah, of course you have to pay for energy. What, you want it for free? Are you a commie? Wait, hold on. Wait, okay, so first of all, I didn't know you were a commie. Second of all, wait, out of curiosity.
I'm forced via taxes, not via voluntarily given money.
So they have orchestrated a global conspiracy, even between countries with opposing geopolitical interests, like China and Russia and America, to get literally hundreds of thousands of scientists together to all affirm the same basic info. Notice, by the way, how earlier you said actually the consensus isn't in favor of me, but now you're arguing that it is in favor of a conspiracy. Kind of swept in those points there, didn't you? Wait, hold on, I'm not done. So they all got these people together. They spent billions of dollars, and for them spending billions of dollars, the outcome that they got from this was, over the course of decades, some measly policies that'll maybe extract from a couple of people some additional money. Why didn't they just raise taxes?
We'll kick it into that 2-minute interval. So Oliver, we'll give you 2 minutes, and then we'll kick it back over to Vosh for 2 minutes as well.
Thank you. Yeah, so we can, I don't want to argue that why governments want to control people. That, anybody who knows anything about government knows that that's what they do. So they are giving, that's like in the Soviet Union, they are giving money to scientists to say what they want. But that's not even my point. My point is I want to discuss the data, and the data clearly shows the opposite of what you said. So that's the proof of that. And of course, if you're mentioning that they all agree on that, that's proof that there's a central governing body, and that's the IPCC. And many people came out of the IPCC and said that's a political gremium,
so you were
political
wrong?
committee.
One second.
Is it a consensus or no?
There is no consensus.
Wait, then what's the conspiracy?
We still do have half the interval left.
Sorry.
There's no consensus among scientists, but there are some. There's a strong incentive if you are the director of a climate institute to say, yeah, it's man-made. But there is no real consensus. These are two different arguments. So there is no 97% consensus. But even if there would be, it wouldn't prove the point, because you have to experiment. You have to have an experiment, and you have to have correlation. You don't have either of that. And yeah, the $1,000 are still on the table.
Okay. So you say there's a global conspiracy, but it's being done by the heads of the scientific administrations, not the scientists themselves, but the scientists are the ones who are being directed to do the consensus that climate change is real, except there's not a consensus that it's real, and the government is giving billions to all these scientists to get them to all prove that climate change is real, but it's actually not them. It's the organization heads that do it, and they did it all so they could charge you 0.03% more on your energy. Do I have that correct? This is a global conspiracy being orchestrated by world governments that have gone to war with each other. Out of curiosity, when did this start, and how are the Jews involved in it?
It's so funny. It started,
come on, man! You're not giving me much to work with here.
It started roughly in the 90s, and there were many scientists coming out that it's a political thing, and there are thousands of scientists who disagree, but they do not work. Most of them do not work in the climate institute, because if you work in the climate institute, you're supposed to say that it's man-made, but they don't have an experiment and they don't have a correlation. All you're resorting is to name calling, which I guess you must be a socialist or something, because that's what you're doing all day long.
You're the commie. Hold on.
You're not defeating my arguments. You're just resort to name calling and consensus, but that's not an argument.
Well, I don't actually like deferring to consensus as an argument. The only reason I brought it up is because you're delusional and you think that there isn't a consensus, but you also think there is a consensus when it comes to the conspiracy. Yeah, got to workshop that chink in your conspiracy workshop there.
These are two different arguments. You need to listen and look for some brain cells that you understand what I'm saying.
Well, okay, so we've gone over all the data. We've had a high IQ discussion on all the evidence available. And we've determined there's a global conspiracy with billions of pumped.
No, you determined that.
Wait, is it not a global conspiracy? Which countries are red-pilled? Which countries have dodged? Is it countries that have more?
States, for example, the United States refuse at this point to go to the climate Paris Accord, and I'm sure in the next term of
so America's resisting, but America still pays billions in grants to climate scientists.
By the way, we had it in the German parliament. It was not reported because no one of the climate skeptics ever makes it into TV. But we had in the German parliament, we had an open discussion where all these points were refuted, but it wasn't shown in the German TV. But
I don't doubt it.
It's on the parliament.
So America left the Paris Climate Accords.
From all over the world who disputed the claims.
America left the Paris Climate Accords. But we still produced like the most research on climate data. And we still pay out millions and billions in grants to the scientists. So is like Trump not won the deep state war with NASA yet? Or wait, is there a correlation between the Jewish population of the country and how climate change pilled they are? I'm trying to get you out. Like, what's the angle here? So the government. So is it a global conspiracy or not?
I'm not referring to it as a conspiracy.
Well, you've said millions of people are complicit in lying about data, so you can pay 0.3% more at the gas pump.
I didn't say that. You're always misconstruing what I said.
Just so you know, So just so you know, it's not just the heads. Wait, please, my friend, my good friend, my beautiful dinner date partner.
In front of the audience, you're lying to them. I didn't say that. I said there's a strong incentive for tampering with the data, but most scientists don't even publish something about the cause of it. Most scientists publish papers about the effects of global warming, and I said it the third time now. Let's move to another topic because you are not able to listen.
Wait, what is the next topic you would like to discuss?
I don't need to be more discussed.
I'm
Because
just
there
looking
is
at like
no-
tens of thousands of papers that
correlation.
indicate a support of my narrative of anthropogenic global warming.
Yeah, and
So-
there are more 1,000 papers who dispute
There,
it.
well, there aren't. If you're citing stuff that can be debunked by Snopes, there definitely aren't. If you want to
Yeah.
find like a time cube
Snopes-
era website,
Snopes
that
is
maybe
really a good website,
maybe you
but
can like run
climate
around to all the
science.
kindergartens in Chicago and like get a bunch of signatures and say all these
all
are
the
scientists.
data is
Whoa,
on
my
the
dude,
website.
chill. You're being very uncivil right now. Okay.
Let's switch into.
And I have another.
These-
I have another.
Wait,
topic.
I'd like to finish my point, and then he can do his thing, and then we can switch into the Q&A.
Let's do a 1 minute. If you want to finish
Okay.
that in 1 minute, Bosch, and then we'll come back to you, Oliver, for 1 minute, and we'll keep going.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, so in summary, I saw that this would be a meme fest like 20 seconds in. This guy's a fucking moron and a conspiracist. And if you look up anything about this guy, you find that he's actually being pretty mask on right now. Like, he's actually making an active effort to not look like as much of a dumb fuck as he actually is. And it's fun, and I enjoy these things. In all seriousness, though, there's no debate about climate change. There isn't at all. Corporations and governments, researchers and politicians, except in the United States and other countries with Fox News influence, have all agreed climate change is a real thing. Humans are causing it. We need to work together to save our planet. It's very simple. This doesn't even involve control of the population. Real socialists know the based and epic way of dealing with climate change is hankering down on corporations, okay? We don't want you people to not have any plastic straws, all right? We got bigger plans in mind. But yeah, so it's been a fun meme fest, but this guy is literally immune to like the concept of empiricism. So there's only so much you can do, right? All right, go for it.
Last word is all yours.
It's the closing arguments now, or what?
That you could say that.
Yeah. Okay. So
So we've got
yeah.
the clock set. All yours.
So I clearly won the debate because you didn't refute my arguments. You didn't put your money where your mouth is. So I again reiterate, if you find me a 900 year period with a significant positive correlation between temperature and CO2 first rising, then you get $1,000, and the other way around, I get $1,000. If you cannot find it, you didn't agree to the bet because you know, maybe you know you're wrong. I know I don't think you know you're wrong, because otherwise you wouldn't talk so much shit in 1 hour or something. And so there's no experiment. You admitted to that. I explained that you need the experiment in natural science, and there's no correlations. You just showed the graphics, which shows, everybody can look it up, that first the temperature rises and then the CO2. So the arguments are on my side. Science is not about consensus. We can talk all day long about consensus, but that's not how science works.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. As mentioned, folks, both of our speakers' links are in the description. So if you'd like to hear more, what are you waiting for? Their links are below. And with that, first question, Adam Temple, appreciate it, said, if you think putting 34 billion tons of gases a year on an 8,000 mile diameter planet, or if you think that putting 34 billion tons of gases a year on an 8,000 mile diameter planet has no effect, then you need to go back to school.
True.
So I think they're targeting you, Oliver. They're coming at you.
Yeah, see, they always do that with absolute numbers. Of course, you have to look at the relative numbers. CO2 is only 0.04% of the atmosphere. They are even admitting that it's not about CO2. Water vapor does accelerate that, and so and only 3% of it is man-made. So if you kill all human beings, 97% of the yearly outpour of CO2 is still there. So of course you can put the numbers together and make it sound big, but it's about the relative numbers. As always.
I'm surprised you didn't say 364 billion tons of gas. Gas doesn't weigh anything. That's fake.
Next, I'll give you the last word if you'd like, Oliver. Since the super chat was originally toward you, if you want to respond to Vosh, you can.
No, that's okay.
No, not you, Oliver. Oliver, if you want to respond, you can.
To what? No, that wasn't my argument with the tons. That was the argument of the.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Okay. And I want to say
he laughs about the one who asked, and he laughs about his own stupidity, I guess.
You guys certainly are an
That's
odd
pretty
couple.
funny.
I'm just happy.
It's just you guys have chemistry. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
Adam Albilia, by the
I have
way.
always chemistry with arrogant, stupid people who don't know the sign.
Well, good buddies. Adam Albilia, thank you. I want to say we appreciate you so much. Happy birthday, buddy. Seriously, totally loyal guy. Thanks so much for all you've helped modern day debate and stuff. So hope you're doing well, Adam. And also want to say, yeah, thanks so much, folks. We've got more questions, but do want to say, if you, no matter what walk of life you're from, communist, capitalist, you name it, you're never Trump or you're for Trump, want to let you know we hope you feel welcome. And so if it's your first time here, you want reminders, hit that subscribe button, as we have a lot more juicy debates coming up. But our next question comes from OP, who says, let's grant that climate change is an existential threat, quote unquote. Why is Vosh having a debate on his computer as electronics contribute to climate change?
I can't tell if that's a real question or if that's making fun of the type of person who would ask me that question. If you break down the numbers, the vast majority of contributions to the atmosphere with regards to greenhouse gases comes from the misbehavior of corporations and governments. When it comes to individual behaviors, I've always been a strong proponent that every single human being on Earth should be able to live with the same level of material comfort that I currently enjoy, using the same level of efficiency and productivity that we currently have, and I hold true to that. I don't think that the average person should have to curtail their life in any way to be responsible in that sense.
Yeah, but if you it's just one point, if you put it on corporations, at the end the consumer pays it. So that's you're misconstruing it. If corporations have to pay for that, then in the end the consumer pays.
That depends on how hard you come for the corporation.
Next up, thanks for your.
If you do socialism, then of course you don't have corporations, but then you have 100 billion people killed, like you guys did in the past.
Wait, did you say 100 billion or 100
I don't want to
billion?
get on. I don't want to get on too much of a rabbit trail.
One form of socialism that will work, and the new form of socialism.
See,
wait, I thought you were a commie.
We want to return. We were going to go to the next question, which is from Carissa Avalone, who is one of our rock star moderators, super huge help. And so thanks so much, Carissa, who says heat in the chat as Vosh is causing the global warming. I think that they mean yes, obviously the heat in the chat.
I'm incredibly sweaty over here, right? I laughed myself into a tizzy. So I am indeed a hypocrite. I have caused the global warming. Hey, Carissa, I hope you're well.
And
he contributed more than
all right, next up. All right. And Gutsick Gibbon, Erica, glad to see you. Another huge loyal help to the channel. We appreciate you, Erica. Says every mass extinction in the past 4.5 billion years is related to climate change. Oliver, how do you reconcile this with geochemistry? And Vosh, how are the cats?
Oliver, you go first.
Yeah. The mass extinction events were about cold temperatures and not warm temperatures. So that's an important point that warm periods of time are very good for nature. They are very good for plants. They are very good for animals. You see it all over the place. The countries with less temperature have less of all of this. So warming is a good thing. So don't be afraid.
Gotcha. And thanks so much for your question. This one comes in from NPC.
The cats are good.
Who says, I live in Australia. Our fires were caused by arsonists. Vosh, why would you say our fires are a result of climate change? Where is the evidence for that?
I don't think all the fires in Australia were caused by arsonists. I would need to look back into it. I'm pretty sure a huge amount of that was caused by like brush fires that were caused naturally. Additionally, first of all, Australia doesn't exist. Second of all, pretending that it did. Even if a fire is caused by an arsonist, it can spread much farther and much faster in global warming. Keep that in mind. Like an arsonist in like Northern California isn't going to do that much during the wet season, but an arsonist in dry brush San Diego can conceivably do a lot of damage. So the drier the climate is, the easier it is for arsonists to do damage.
No, the bushfires are.
We must keep going. I hate to do this.
I have to answer to that. They are caused by not proper forest management, because of course the socialists rule California, and they put away with the rules of forest management. Humans are doing forest managing for centuries now, and the socialists put it out of place.
Socialists?
So it's easy. It's easy to stop that. To stop it by forest management, you deliberately burn down some sections, and that's causing the fires. It has nothing to do with global warming, because on any given time there are hot zones and there are cold zones, but it doesn't relate to the average temperature of the planet if there are bushfires or not. That's just silly.
Moving to the next one, Alan Beaupre, thanks for your question, said, Oliver, what other scientific consensuses do you deny?
What?
They asked, are there any other scientific issues where you would disagree with the majority of scientists?
Which ones don't you disagree with the majority of scientists on? Can you give us the shorter list?
Yeah, that's the shorter list.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the shorter list.
Thank you. And Cillian Holland, thanks for your question, said, Oliver.
It's really almost everything is rigged there. That's right. For example, coronavirus. We had the debate. I won last time. So
yeah, you won so hard. YouTube had to silence you to keep the truth under wraps.
Next, let's see.
Yeah, just look at the debate and look at the comments. I won it.
Next the comments. I thought consensus didn't determine results, my friend.
No, but we were talking about.
I'm sorry, James.
Sorry.
We were talking about another topic, and I explained it last time. I don't resort to the majority of the viewers, but I was talking about, did I win the debate or not on the other topic?
Next up, Cillian Holland, thanks for your question, said, Oliver, if severe climate change is not happening, why are we in the 6th mass extinction in Earth's history? James, you better get my name right. I hope I did, Cillian. And Oliver,
what mass extinction?
If severe,
more people on the planet than ever before. What mass extinction?
I didn't hear you. I'm so sorry.
What mass extinction you went? We have more people than ever before on the planet. What mass extinction?
I think they mean other species.
Yeah, that may be true. That because it's colder than ever before. If you look at the long-term data, so warm weather is good for animals, and of course there are many causes that doesn't have anything to do with climate change. If you're killing tigers, for example, they will die. But for example, polar bears are multiplying like rabbits. We have much more than in the 1950s. So there is no mass extinction of animals because of climate change.
Wait,
gotcha.
I'm sorry. Just as a matter of responsibility, what he just said was literally the opposite of true. Just generally, so we don't have to get into it. I just want to say, as a matter of responsibility to public discourse, I just have to let you all know this guy is actually an incredibly accurate measure of reality. If you just listen to the opposite of what he's saying.
Next, Brian Stevens, thanks for your questions. And can Oliver name the 3 major greenhouse gases?
Pardon?
They asked, can Oliver name the 3 major greenhouse gases?
Greenhouse and gas.
Yeah,
sorry,
exactly. It's CO2, methane, and the other one is hard to spell, but that's an interesting point, because CO2 is from the, how's the factor is GWP factor of CO2 is the lowest one of all, because that's 1, and all the other greenhouse gases have a higher factor. But what's the question about?
Whether or not you know of, but I think that you've answered it.
Methane, the name is methane, then it's nitrous oxide, I don't know the English, then it's hydrofluoric,
I'm muted. Alden's gas.
Carbon, and so on. CFC11, carbon, CF4,
Gotcha.
and so on.
Thank you. And Sunflower, thanks for your question, said, asking your chat to do stuff for you during streams without reimbursement or stake in your hand is exploitative. Justin Bieber farm theory.
No, I pay every chatter who gives me a link during a debate. I pay them.
Gotcha. I thought that was directed at me. I was like, Bricks, thanks for your question. Said, Oliver, do you believe in lizard people?
No.
Gotcha. Is it fair to say...
I don't see you anymore. Sorry, I don't see you anymore.
through the Zoom window?
Yeah,
Oh, I promise like my
but I hear you.
connection. The connection seems good. I have no idea. I mean, like I can hear you. I don't know.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's okay. I can hear you.
We can still see you. So Raven Zero has a question, said we should shut down all CO2 from vehicles, commercial and personal, shut down power plant and home AC service, shut down internet and leave only emergency service. That will
I had too
massively
much
help
fun today.
the climate.
I'm muted. I'm not talking to them.
I think they're trying to run some sort of reductio on you, Vosh.
Oh,
that's my guess.
Could you repeat that for me? I was actually clearing my throat. I apologize.
No problem. They said we should shut down all CO2 from vehicles, commercial and personal, shut down power plant and home AC service and internet, and leave only emergency services. That will help reduce climate change.
True. I want a world where the only available form of public transportation is carriages being hiked on the shoulders of himbos who run barefoot from city to city like it's Death Stranding. It would be good for the environment and it would be good for the soul.
Gotcha. And this question comes in from, let's see. One sec. We have a little glitch over here. Deadpool 3E. Appreciate it. Said, James, if you think mass extinctions were caused by cool temperatures, and I think this is for Oliver instead. So Oliver, if you think mass extinctions were caused by cool temperatures and animals do great in heat, you may want to look up the Permian Triassic extinction that eradicated 90% of Earth.
Oh, how warm was it then?
It was a cold meteor. Actually, he's right on this one. It actually, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you.
No
And AP, thanks for your question, said, Vosh, is climate change the white man's problem?
I don't think it's necessarily a race thing. If you want to talk about relative levels of national development, I do think that nations that have already developed should probably be subsidizing the infrastructure of nations that still need to develop. So if our goal is to have a world where everyone is equal and can enjoy clean energy to the best possible extent, which is the world I want, we have to recognize the fact that through a wide variety of very complicated historical factors, certain countries like America, we got to have our oil boom, our coal, and now we can transition towards clean energy because we have a very developed and sophisticated infrastructure. A lot of countries can't do that. Bangladesh, they're a little bit on the back foot there. So I think in the interest of a better world, we should be subsidizing them, but that comes back to benefit us as well. A world that is more interconnected and more interdependent is a world with greater economic opportunity. So in that respect, I don't think that it's really anybody's burden. We can take plenty of money away from the military-industrial complex and put it towards that. We can put a quarter of the money we put towards our military, put it towards that. We'll be doing an amazing amount of work for the world. I think we should be proud to have the opportunity to help our neighbors.
Gotcha. And thanks for your question from, this one's from 256 PJR, said, Vosh, Roy Spencer, who is a senior scientist for climate studies at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, has many lectures online disagreeing with you. Is he lying, or are you just smarter than him?
Oh, the latter. Obviously. No, I can't. I mean, there are obviously individual scientists who have their own opinions. When we're talking about, so here, I need to clarify this. When it comes to issues like climate change or climatology...
Sorry, I just tried to rejoin, so if I'm away, then that's the reason for it.
Okay, you're here. We gotcha. When it comes to stuff... When it comes to stuff like climatology, all we have are deference to expert opinion. None of us are even close to being capable of measuring global temperatures on our own. We can't go over to Antarctica and start measuring ice sheets. These aren't things we can do. We have to defer to the legitimacy of other research. That's all we can do. That's all any of us could do, unless we're also very prolific, scientists or very wealthy people. Maybe you guys can, you're built different, but most of us can't. And with that respect, it's mostly a matter of deriving the consensus of the most legitimate source. So if there's an individual who has different arguments, I'd be interested in hearing them. It's possible some of their concerns are legitimate. But usually when you look into people who deviate from the standard narrative on climate change, you find they're cranks, or that they're being paid off by institutions that have a very obvious interest in denying the truth about science. Like, there's one that PragerU brought on recently, and he's like this one celebrity scientist that's super discredited, but he gets literally millions of dollars running around doing runs for organizations that want to convince their idiot, viewers that climate change isn't really an issue. Don't worry about it. Go back to sleep. Wait, hold on. I'm getting a link. This guy is a misinfo fuck. Climate misinformation by source Roy Spencer. Let's see. Skeptical science blog post. Wow, it looks like there are a lot of people who think that this guy is not that credible. Interesting. Well, I'd have to look into it to see more.
Next, thanks for your question. This one comes in from OP. Got a critic out there, Vosh, says, I believe in climate change. The data is there, but Vosh resorted to too much name calling and yelling. They don't like your aggressive style, Vosh.
Oh, what are they, a liberal? No, I just want to say when it comes to clowns like this, all you can really do.
That was a good reply.
When it comes to clowns like this, all you can really do is make jokes. I think I laid out a fairly compelling case that there's a strong consensus for evidence reaffirming the very basic premises of human-caused climate change. Apart from that, I mean, it's all pretty much just memes. Sometimes you can't talk to people, and expect like fair discourse. So at that point, it's really just a matter of having fun. And I had fun. I hope he had fun too.
It's been intense. And Jazor, thanks for your question, which is for Oliver. They said, what do you think about J people?
What people?
I think they mean Jewish people.
What's the problem with them?
I don't know. What is the problem with them? So
that's
there are good and bad people in every population. I'm a libertarian. I'm not a socialist.
Gotcha. And I'm sorry, Wilson, thanks for your question. Said, Vosh, no water world. Checkmate. Just walk away.
It's true. Waterworld hasn't even happened. When did that movie come out? In the 80s? When is it going to happen? Never.
Clyde Seitz, thanks for your question. I didn't see the question, but I saw your super chat. I don't know what to, let me know in the live chat if you got one. Braden Fears, thanks for your question, said, Vosh, why don't you put climate change in your, quote, ultimate research doc, unquote?
I keep meaning to get to it. I probably don't look like it because I look like a fucking schlub, but I'm actually generally pretty busy. I really need to get around to that, though. I guess the main thing that bothers me when it comes to that is I feel like there are a lot of people who have bad opinions on things like systemic racism that can actually be convinced with arguments, but I feel like at this point, most of the people who disagree with like climate change being a man-made thing are usually so far gone that evidence isn't actually what you need in arguments against them. You usually need like religious sermon or like a heavy object or something else, but I don't know if evidence is like the killer there. Therapy, yeah, but I'll work on it. I'll do it.
Next up, thanks for your question. This one comes in from Layman, who says, Oliver, what are your thoughts on flat Earth?
I have no thoughts on flat Earth. I think it's a ball.
Next, thank you. J. Bree W, thanks for your question, said, would Oliver affirm everyone's right to bear nukes?
Nukes?
Yeah, what do you think about personal ownership
what has
of weapons?
that to do with climate change?
You're a libertarian, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a libertarian. We can do a whole debate about that.
I'm American, so we should agree on this.
I'm thankful for the question because you can go to my book, The Order of Freedom. There you see an answer to any of these questions, but that would take another 2 hours.
Thank you. And
my answer is yes, by the way.
J. Bree W. Oh, we just read that. Nicholas Chin, thanks for your question, said, how does Oliver explain the role of glaciation and Milankovitch cycles in historical CO2 concentrations and their link with temperatures?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't understand the first one, but the Milankovitch cycles, of course, contribute to the climate change and the sun in a shorter period of time. So I think that these are the driving factors and not human activity.
Gotcha. And Professor Studs says, how does Oliver reconcile the claim that science isn't about consensus with his appeal to the delegitimizing effect of the consensus crisis? Is that not a condemnation of a lack of consensus?
What? I didn't understand the question.
I was reading it fast. Let me slow down. They said, how does Oliver reconcile the claim that science isn't about consensus with his appeal to the delegitimizing effect of the consensus crisis? Is that not a condemnation of a lack of consensus?
Can you explain it to me what he means? I can't understand. I don't understand what he's referring to. So what I'm saying
he's
is
saying
that
I'm right and you're wrong.
consensus is not the method. Consensus is not the method. So I don't understand the question. I mean, maybe it's because of my bad English. I don't understand the question. Can you explain it?
I think what they're saying is how do you reconcile the claim that science isn't about the consensus, everybody agreeing? They're saying you say that in one case, but then they say in other cases, though, you appeal to the delegitimizing effect of the consensus crisis. In other words, I think they say,
what is the delegitimizing?
Oh, I think they're saying that at one point you say science isn't about consensus, and then at another point, as a forceful argument in your case, you say a lot of that there's not consensus when it comes to climate change. And so
okay, I understand. Yeah, because these are two different arguments. My main argument is that it's not about consensus, but even the argument that there is consensus is wrong. These are two different logical arguments.
Okay, thanks so much. And Balthazar228, thanks for your question, said, Vosh, are you up for some gravity-denying flat Earth debates? Feels like the next step.
Yeah, I feel like I've been training my whole life for flat Earth and gravity stuff, Actually, the arguments in favor of a flat Earth are surprisingly intricate. If you really get into the weeds, you actually have to be really, really ready for them. They can really get you. So I would be wary, folks. Okay, it's a deep dive if you ever get into that.
Gotcha. And Carl Carrington, thanks for your question, said, Oliver, does CO2 trap heat from UV light? Has the CO2 gone up since the Industrial Revolution? Does increased heat affect weather? So three questions.
The first one.
Does CO2 trap heat from UV light?
No.
Then, has the CO2 gone up since the Industrial Revolution?
Yes. No, according to the official data, yes. But for example, there's a lexicon of I think 1870, and there they say the CO2 level already was at 0.04%, and they are measuring it on a volcano. So I'm not really sure that this data is correct. But even this data shows there's no correlation.
Gotcha. And thanks for your question. This one comes in from, oh, that's right. So the last one they asked was, does increased heat affect weather?
Of course, sir.
Okay. And Balthazar, thanks for your question, said, also, Venus's atmosphere is 96.5% CO2. Its surface temperature is 698,000 Kelvin. How do you reconcile this?
Yeah, because it's nearer to the sun, you can calculate that. But another interesting thing, we didn't get to that point, is that the whole atmosphere in reality is a cooling system. You have to go to the research I mentioned. And you see that the surface temperature of the moon is much higher than on the Earth, and there's no atmosphere. So the whole atmosphere is in reality a cooling system. You find all the research on the link I gave you.
If I may, Mercury is closer. Mercury is closer to the sun than Venus, but Venus is hotter than Mercury because the atmosphere traps heat.
But all planets are heating right now, and I don't know.
But the one that's closer to the sun is cooler.
If you believe in Martians, there are. If you don't believe in Martians, on all the other planets who are also warming because of the sun activity, there are no human beings.
But there's one of the planets. The planet that is closer.
Anything to do with CO2.
The planet that is closer is cooler than the planet that is farther away, because the atmosphere traps heat.
Because of different factors,
the atmosphere, with its high.
But because there is no correlation between CO2 and temperature, that the CO2 on Venus cannot be the reason for that.
But it is, though. That's why it is, because the atmosphere traps heat. That's what particles do. They interact with each other.
No, it's not.
That is what
let's see,
particles do,
Why is the
actually.
temperature higher on the
you
moon?
must
Why is the
move.
temperature higher on the moon?
The moon doesn't have an atmosphere.
We've got one for
Exactly.
We've got one for
That's why it's
Vosh.
hotter.
AP, thanks for your question. They said, Vosh, name some valid major predictions of climate change, please.
Oh yeah, sure. The ice caps have been melting at unprecedented rate. The excuse me, sorry. The water levels have risen. The global temperature has undeniably risen by any metric imaginable. The rate of environmental catastrophes have gone up. If you take a look at the rate of hurricanes, tornadoes, and forest fires, these things have increased metrically with the increasing global temperature. Is that 4? I know you think it's wrong, but it's true.
Next.
So
Well,
wait,
just go to the website.
Wait, hold on.
Wait,
I don't
how
wanna-
many-
We got
wait,
a ton of questions. We have a trillion questions.
how many did I count?
Go to
There were also
just one
there were
source.
also
Go to
predictions.
Bricks zone. Type in sea level rising.
Wait,
type in tornadoes,
hold on one
type-
second. We
type in
do.
natural
We have to go to the next
catastrophes.
one. I'm
If
sorry.
you
to
go
do
to
this all over.
www.jewscontroltheclimate.com, you can find .ge. Sorry, no, but additionally,
We
not
must
only,
go to the next question.
You seem to be obsessed by
also
Jews.
we fixed the hole.
anti-Semitic?
We fixed the hole in the ozone layer. There. Okay.
Next up, thank you. Sistu, appreciate your question. Said, Oliver, what if you're wrong? Isn't it short-sighted to gamble with the health of the only known habitable
sorry.
planet? What do we lose by transitioning to renewable energy?
Oh, that's a very, very, very good question. That's a very good question. As I mentioned before, humans always adapt to nature. People like the guy I'm discussing with want to control nature. They want to play God,
What?
and we can adapt to nature, which is much, much cheaper than trying to control it. Which I laid out that even the climate models say that they are non-linear, chaotic. So it's impossible to control the temperature of the planet. That's a totally silly idea. But billions of money, of dollars, are put into that, which could help the poor, could help could help building better houses and so on. So in the end, if you read the Green New Deal, for example,
Do you want higher taxes? You're a libertarian.
Of Bernie Sanders
Next
and
up.
so on. Just let
We
me
must.
finish. Then if you do that, then the whole planet will die because it's socialism. Socialism already killed 100 million people, and the Green New Socialism will kill another 100 million people.
Next
That's
up.
for sure.
I hate to
But
say.
fortunately enough, the people in America are not as
I love you,
crazy
James.
as
I hope you know
Germany-
that.
are not as crazy as in Germany, and they reject these crazy tyrannical ideas of running the
Thank
life
you.
of everyone on planet Earth to save the Earth from being a little bit warmer, which is no problem at all. It's
Thank you.
just
We must go.
scam.
I hate to we have so many questions. Clyde Societies, thanks for your question. Said, Vosh, global warming with more CO2 means more vegetation and more oxygen. More oxygen in the atmosphere equals better health for all life. Global warming is a good thing. Change my mind.
No. You know that if you take a deep breath and then you choke yourself, you keep more air in your lungs indefinitely because you can't exhale. And that way you have more air in your lungs and you're healthier and you don't even have to worry about breathing again because you never exhale the air. Don't be a fucking idiot. Jesus Christ. Go to fucking middle school, okay? Put your fucking phone down. Pick up your
It
8th
was the
grade.
most stupid
Wait,
argument.
no. Hold on.
I never heard the argument in my
Okay.
whole life. In my whole life. That's so
So
stupid.
the way evolution
I mean,
works,
you made a mention
everything,
here.
Hold on
everything.
one second.
That's
One at
so
a time,
dumb.
Oliver.
This
One at a
guy's
time,
this
Oliver.
guy's so uncivil. My goodness. The way the planet works,
You
the way
started it,
evolution.
you
Holy
moron.
shit! The way evolution works is everything on this planet is specifically biologically designed to function optimally, given a specific set of climate conditions. Evolution doesn't have. We don't have fucking
Right, and
sliders
most
on the
plants
back of
need
our
10 or
neck.
20 times
James,
more
I just want to
CO2.
finish this point. I swear to God, then we can move on.
Yes, Oliver.
We don't have sliders on the. We aren't like Vegeta, where there's like a power level that gets raised if we get exposed to more heat. People born in fucking Polynesia aren't physically stronger than people born in the fucking Alps of Switzerland. Okay, that's not how it works. The world is supposed to be a given way, and if there is change, that change has to be gradual enough so the flora and fauna can adapt to those changes, and that way the planet continues to accommodate and function optimally. very rapid changes like this do not
What
allow
is
for
the
that
optimal
process.
temperature for the Earth?
I've
By
got
the
to
way,
give
what is
I've
the
got to give
optimal
Vosh the
temperature
last
for the Earth?
I've got to give Vosh the last word on that one just because it was directed at him. AP, thanks for your question. I don't understand what this means. Vosh, why were you on Epstein's flight list?
I was trying to take him down. Donald Trump and I were part of a crack team back in 1989. We were trying to ride to the island to plant explosives at the base of the pillars that led to the underwater moor, but unfortunately we were stopped. Hillary Clinton and her guards were too sharp for us, and we had to skedaddle. They got my name and face, but they weren't able to catch Donald. That's why he's president of the United States, and I'm just a lowly streamer.
Next up, Dave Garr, thank you for your question. Said, I live in Texas, and if it gets 1 dang degree hotter, I'm kicking your behind, Ollie. Then I will drink water because of the heat. It's hot here. Thank you for that, Dave Garr. And I'm sorry, Wilson, thanks for your comment. Said Zoom cannot deny us James's machismo. Appreciate that.
True.
Thanks so much. Next up, Ben Riley, thanks for your question. Said, can Oliver explain why Venus is hotter than Mercury?
I was curious.
Yeah, I already told you that has nothing to do with CO2.
What does
because there's no correlation between CO2 and temperature.
There is right there, though. So what else causes it to be hotter than Mercury, which is closer?
I don't know. There may be many reasons, but in the rest
But it can't be the one everyone else thinks it is.
In the rest of the solar system, every planet, as I already told you, is warming right now, and there are no humans on that. I'm not an expert on atmosphere.
We have so many questions. If it's short and pithy, Vosh.
Yeah, James, can I say one really quick thing? Okay.
Super quick.
This is the way CO2 works, okay? Imagine you have a ping pong ball and you're tossing other ping pong balls at it, okay? It always bounces off. Then imagine you glue a bunch of cotton around the ping pong ball and you throw more ping pong balls at it. Some of them are going to get caught in the cotton. That's what CO2 does to our planet, okay? If there was no atmosphere, all energy, most of it would just bounce off the surface of the planet, and atmosphere keeps it from bouncing back fully and increasing the temperature of the planet.
The second
Go ahead, Oliver, and then we got to go to the next one.
That if warmth, heat is always going from warm to cold and not the other way around. So how do you explain that the upper temperature...
heat is preserved in a closed system.
The temperature in the upper atmosphere is much cooler than in the lower atmosphere.
Because the atmosphere is denser, closer to the planet.
How do you explain it? No, you're claiming that there's a layer which makes it warmer.
I'm sorry, James.
Upper atmosphere, but how does it come down to the warmer atmosphere, which is down at the Earth? How do you explain that?
I think Vosh is sharing a screen. So
I'm doing some art. Don't mind me.
Okay, gotcha. Let's see. Well,
I'm doing science.
You're drawing a picture. Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
There we go. Here's the planet.
It will be very funny. That's just the wrong model. That's totally silly.
But then if you have a planet and you've got like little dashes around it, you know?
No, because you need
like that. But then some of them go like
you need additional energy. It defies the second law of thermodynamics.
It stays in there. See, like that. Some of them get out, but not all of them. See? That's how it works.
No, that's not how it works.
We must.
That's how it works.
I gotta give Oliver the last word, and then we gotta go to the next one.
It isn't.
Next up, thank you, Othello, for your question. Said Oliver, as a renowned climate skeptic, do you believe that the scientific consensus on Alden's gas is a lie as well?
On what?
Alden's gas.
I don't know that.
Next, Bricks, thanks for your question. Said Oliver, do you believe in QAnon?
I'm covering it. I'm covering all possibilities that it's a psyop and that it's a LARP and or that he's real. And I'm changing my mind as new factors come in. Right now, I'm much more skeptical because there were no mass arrests. So I'm covering it, but I'm not a believer.
Thank you very much. D. Trich, thanks for your question. Said Oliver, can you explain the children who were rescued from underground prisons by QAnon, or who did the rescuing?
I don't think they were rescued.
Gotcha. Next up, Jonathan Y. Wu says Oliver's claim that the forest fires are the result of bad forest management under California's, quote, socialist, unquote, state government is dumb. Does he know that 90% of California's forests are federally owned?
True.
Oh, then it's bad forest management by the federal government.
By Trump.
I wouldn't debate that. If that's true, government. I'm a libertarian. I want the government out of the way of everything. So if it's true, then you should blame Trump. I have to look it up.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
We want to force Trump to rake
I
our
assume that there
forests.
are laws in California which prohibit that. But if that's true, then he would be to blame.
Next up, Kazan Kamikaze, thanks for your question, said the majority of forested land in California is owned by the federal government, not the socialist state government. The poor forest management would lie on the feds, not the state. Oh, it was like almost
That's the same
duplicate.
question.
Yeah. Balthazar 228, thanks for your question, said, is Oliver familiar with Alden's number in the context of CO2 and climate change?
No.
Gotcha. Arthur Santoro, thank you for your question, says, Oliver, what are your thoughts on Alden's number? Okay, Go Walls is says
Listen, it's my paper. I haven't published it yet. Okay, it's in the works.
so many Alden's numbers. It says Gowal says, does Oliver agree with Alden's theory of thermodynamics? And L just says, is Oliver familiar with Alden's number? No more Alden's number. Nico Sammarino says, Oliver, have you heard of Alden's climate theory? And I don't know. I don't get it. It's like it's got to be that Bosch told. I am sorry, but it's a little hard to believe that's a coincidence. But Greg Merritt said, Bosch, where is the missing carbon going?
What?
Let's see. Greg Murat said, Vosh, where's the missing carbon going?
The missing carbon? I don't know which carbon is missing. Do we mean the CO2 in the atmosphere, or you mean if it being dispersed out of the atmosphere to space? I'm not entirely sure what they mean. Earth is mostly a closed system. Sorry. Earth is mostly a closed system. I mean, energy escapes Earth a lot easier than mass does, but even gases can escape our atmosphere and just kind of fly off into space given the right conditions. Is it more Alden shit?
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, the next one comes from Appreciate Your Question. This one is from let's see. Wait, we might be caught up. Let's see. It's hard to.
I give you executive permission to ignore any further donation that has Alden anywhere in it. Okay, that's fine. It's on me. I'll reimburse them for their donations.
Ben Riley says, wouldn't moving to renewable moving to renewable and alternative
Explain to me the joke afterwards.
just like had a hernia. Okay. Says, wouldn't moving to renewable and alternative energy reduce our dependency on foreign oil and prevent regime change, making a more libertarian and less interventionist world? Why wouldn't you want this?
That's a very good question. I didn't explain that. So it's very easy to understand, but actually not for Bosch, but for the rest of the viewers. If something is more expensive, you're using more resources. So if you use windmills and which need a lot of land, and if you're using solar energy, you're wasting more resources. That's why they are more expensive. So it's a very dumb thing to do that, and you even need more fossil fuels to produce them, because you cannot produce a solar. You cannot fire up a solar energy factory with solar energy. That's impossible. So they don't do it. And in terms of independence, the US are already independent because of fracking, but that's what the left wants to forbid. So they are on a very good path to energy independence, and the US is driving down the CO2 levels more than any other country, and they are not part of the climate accord. There you see how crazy these central planners are.
Gotcha. And Adam Albilia, thanks for your question, said, please ask Oliver, why does he not only deny the consensus about climate change, but also deny the consensus about the existence of the total consensus about climate change.
What?
I think it was meant to. It's more cheeky, but I think it was more of. It was a cheeky question. They're just trying to be silly. But Cillian Holland says, "Damn it, James." And then let's see, Izzy P. Thanks for your question. Said, Oliver, do you or have you ever smoked crack? All right. So no worries about that.
We're all libertarians here. There's nothing wrong with that if that's true.
We've all been there. All right. What's the next? We've got one or two more that have just come in. Thanks for your patience. I want to remind you folks, both of our guests are linked in the description. So that way, if you'd like to hear more, you definitely can. Next, we have Tollison Oberlander, who says, let's see, yes, more about Alden. And then Big
No, you can ignore it. Fuck them.
Says, Papa Yang Bang says, does Oliver know of the gas called copium?
No, but I know the gas called argon, and this is not a climate gas. And if you do all the experiments with supposedly a CO2 warming anything, you put in argon and it does exactly the same. And they say it's not climate sensitive.
Gotcha. And Ben Riley, thanks for your question, said, can I leave a dog in a car with the windows up because the greenhouse effect isn't real?
No, that's the real greenhouse effect, and that effect exists. But the world is not, the atmosphere is not a greenhouse. There is no roof. That's the whole point. Because if there would be a roof, then, as I explained, then it would be warmer in the upper atmosphere then. Because only then the warmth, the heat can go down, and it would have to warm up every atmosphere below that, and then you would have a greenhouse. So you observe exactly the opposite.
That's actually
in a greenhouse that it's heated up because the air cannot go out of the greenhouse. But we don't have a roof over.
You can actually disprove that.
Maybe in the flat Earth theory, but not in the.
You can actually disprove that very, very easily. All you have to do is buy a fuck ton of cotton and make a little igloo out of it. And if you chill in that cotton igloo on a hot day with the sun shining down on you, the inside is going to get extremely hot eventually, but the top of the cotton is going to be the same temperature cotton left out in the sun would be. The inside cooks more because the heat and the energy, the thermal energy in the atmosphere, that tiny little atmosphere in the igloo, has a harder time escaping because of the igloo you've built for yourself. So it's essentially the same effect as a greenhouse gas. You create a material which traps energy.
Professor Wood already disproved it in 1909 that it's the same. Professor Wood.
Next, thank you for your question. This one comes in from our dearest friend, your friend Huffy. Says, does Oliver believe in the Jewish question? And if not, does he think that climate change is a lie perpetuated by what's up, dog? Very nice.
You seem to have a very anti-Semitic audience. Oh, what you're talking about? We're truth seekers. Listen. We're just very interested in different perspectives. You know, we're just trying to suss it out.
Professor Studs, thanks for your question. Said, sorry, my last question.
So often that I assume that you're all anti-Semites.
They said
it's very mean.
Professor Studs said, sorry, my last question was confusing. A, I meant the replication crisis, and B, Oliver's answer made no sense. For both, do you love black people?
I love black people. Do you love black people, Oliver?
As I said, there are good and bad people in any population, and maybe we'll finish this because it's getting too silly for me. I mean, I
promise we'll be done soon.
I enjoy a laugh as everybody else, but I got up early and it's too silly for me now.
They say the Germans are very serious people.
That's true. We if you're willing to hang with us for, let's see, maybe one more question. We do have to say Oliver has been extremely flexible and waking up early without enough sleep, and so we do really appreciate that. So we will wrap it up. Want to let you know, folks, if there's a super chat that just flew in the last second, that you're upset about me not reading, let me know, and I can shoot you a Venmo or a PayPal, whatever. And I want to say thanks so much, folks, for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Also want to say both of our guests are linked in the description. We hope to see you this Wednesday for a good old flat Earth debate. That should be fun. And one last thank you to our guests.
Did you do the last one? Because last one you told me that you will have a debate. Did you do that, or is it that? In our last debate, you said there will be coming up a flat Earth debate. And
we
You had
definitely did. Yep.
Okay.
But, you know, the
I didn't see it.
I'll do one. I'll do a flat Earth.
I like the topic. I like the topic.
The investigation continues. I might know a guy that would love to debate you on flat Earth, Vosh.
Has to be after the election. My schedule was already pretty packed for this, but I regret nothing.
But yeah, I want to say thanks so much, everybody. We hope you keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable. Thanks, Vosh and Oliver, so much, you guys, for being flexible and just coming and hanging out with us. It's been a true pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's my motto: live, laugh, love. I had a great time. You know, I'm here for it, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, James, for moderating. Thank you, Oliver, for the conversation. Silly as it may have been, I hope you both have a wonderful time. And yeah, I look forward to us all speaking again at some point, maybe.
Thanks so much. With that, take care, folks. We will hopefully see you this Wednesday. Have a great rest of your Monday or Tuesday. You're off air on my end. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
He instantly left the call. James, I love you, James. I hope you know that.
I was like, yeah, I thank you for saying that. I love you too. The feeling's mutual. I feel bad. Poor Oliver.
No, I'm losing it. Wait. I'm still live, so you don't say anything compromise your neutral moderation term. But I fucking hate people like that. These conspirators do so much damage to public policy. But more importantly, we had fun, and I love him for being a good sport about it.
He was a good sport.
I laughed myself a fucking headache. Oh God. Have a good one, man. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you. You too. Take care.
All right. Peace out.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. Well, that was about the most fun I've had in a really long time. Wow. Whew. Oh boy, I haven't laughed that hard since the fucking Jocko Willink. I didn't think I could laugh that hard again. Holy fuck. Oh shit. Don't you fucking weird chant me, Hyena. You were losing your shit. Oh god. Okay. In all seriousness though, I'm sure there are some people watching who are mad or whatever. The thing you have to understand is that there are some people who just don't deserve good debates. And when people engage in conspiracy like that, this guy was literally saying like, oh, whatever, even if the sea level rises, 500 million people can just move. This person may seem like just like an out of it boomer, but underneath that guy is like a legitimate core of either derangement or hate. And those people really do bother me. Do you think the Alden's number stuff and Jewish question stuff make you look bad? Let me be perfectly clear. Anybody who didn't realize that guy was a clown 10 minutes into the discussion probably wasn't going to be moved by another hour and 50 minutes of nuanced conversations. But it's important that we should be able to have fun. Can't wait to go in to read the comments to decide who won the debate. Yeah. The JQ stuff was actually bad optics-wise. I mean, maybe. Listen. Listen. All right. Let's take a sec to chill. Okay? Let's take a sec to chill. That guy actually has, on his Wikipedia page, it actually says that he's gotten in trouble for anti-Semitic stuff before. I don't trust these people as far as I can throw them personally, so I don't know. I wouldn't have said it if it weren't for that. Yeah, it says right here. Janique published a YouTube video against the appointment of Sinan Selin as vice president of the Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution, claiming that Selin had gotten the job at the request of the Turkish government. According to German magazine Spiegel Online, his YouTube videos contain partly racist statements and employ anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Now, I took a look at his YouTube channel. I can't speak German, certainly not conversationally, so I can't independently verify that. But if we look at his YouTube page and look at his header, it's like, I don't know. I'm just getting a vibe, you know? I'm just getting a feeling. He's part of Compact TV, which is basically a Nazi network that believes Angela Merkel is a dictator. Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, so I'm not. This guy actually gets decent views too, which is depressing. But yeah. Anyway, I had fun.